After economic calamity, the deaths of over 100,000 Americans, dropping poll numbers, and now social unrest over police reform, the president and his team are trying to change the message with their new theme, The Great American Comeback. Let's take a listen.
The Great American Comeback has begun. A record 2.5 million new jobs in May. And we're just getting started. Before the pandemic, President Trump made our economy the envy of the world. Now he's doing it again, bringing devastated industries back, working to build factories here instead of China, getting direct cash relief to families, renewing, restoring, rebuilding. Together, we'll make America great again.
But will this strategy convince Americans to give President Trump a second term? Pam Bondi, she's the co-chair of the Women for Trump and a former special advisor to the president. She joins us now via Skype. Pam, it's great to see you. Thanks, and welcome to the show.
Thanks. You too. Good morning.
Absolutely. Good morning. So, Pam, one of the things we wanted to get your take on is, obviously we see the campaign with this new restoring message given the state of, just the economy. But one of the things we've also seen is that 80% of Americans believe that the country is on the wrong track. So what's the campaign and really your thoughts on how you can go against something which is historically correlated with, a wrong turn against the incumbent president?
Well, I think the president is showing it by actions. You just played that clip earlier about the 2.5 million jobs. And what you have to realize, that was the largest job increase in 1 month in American history. 1.1 million of those jobs were for women. 225,000 of those jobs were for manufacturing. So people understand those are real numbers. Those are real jobs. And the president, by his actions, this was an artificial shutdown of our economy. And now he is bringing it back. Unemployment decreased by 2 million jobs in May alone, which of course was the largest decrease of unemployment in 1 month in American history. So the president's showing it by actions, given everything going on in this world, and especially then, we talked about the tragic death of George Floyd. And what is the president doing now? He is leading by action. He's put together a committee. We learned last night. Mark Meadows is working on it, who is I think the world of, and Tim Scott. Could not be a better person than Tim Scott to have on that committee, because the president speaks in actions. And that's his he can talk all he wants, but what he's going to do is going to make a difference. So it's going to be the greatest economic comeback ever. And it's also going to change America for the better after a horrible, horrible loss of the life of George Floyd.
Pam, Chris Wallace of Fox News was on The View yesterday talking about his book, but he had a pretty tough critique, a political critique of where the president is right now. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
And I would say that the last week was a very bad week for the president in terms of politics, in terms of his potential reelection prospects. I mean, when you're getting called out by the Episcopal Bishop of Washington and the Archbishop of the Catholic Church of Washington, when you're getting called out, by everybody from Jim Mattis to former chairman of the Joint Chiefs, Mike Mullen, and even your own current Secretary of Defense, Mike Esper, breaks with you, that's not a good week.
Now, Pam, it's a long time between now and Election Day, but polls seem to be moving against the president right now. I mean, if the election were held today, do you think he would win?
I sure do. And, we didn't listen to polls last time, and look how it worked out. Everyone said we were going to lose last time, and look what happened. And by the way, I know Chris. Chris has been talking about the president that way for as long as I've known Chris. So I'm not too concerned about Chris Wallace's comments. And I'm proud of President Trump for going out and standing by a place of worship and saying, we are going to support our churches, and we are not going to be bullied by anyone, nor let our churches or our good businesses be vandalized.
Are you also proud, though, the action that stoked the most criticism was the call to clear out peaceful protesters using canisters of, some said tear gas, some said smoke. Pepper balls certainly were used, rubber bullets shot again at peaceful protesters in order to create the opportunity for that photo op. Are you proud of that?
Well, first of all, many people said it was tear gas, like you said. They said it was tear gas. They were throwing things. There was no tear gas. There were smoke bombs.
Okay, there were pepper balls and rubber bullets.
From
and riot shields.
Haley McEnany, what we heard at that time, they were throwing frozen water bottles and other objects at police officers. And I, as a career prosecutor, I will never, ever, ever agree with any harm being done to police officers.
Yeah.
And I do also believe on the flip side, those 4 police officers who killed George Floyd should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
And Pam, the last question here I have for you, which is really about the politics and the way that this is all being framed, which is last time President Trump ran against the system. It was an economic indictment of Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. And this time seems to be running on the system or recreating that. Do you think that there's a risk in doing that, or do you really believe that the system is so good that it will appeal to a broad swath of voters in order to bring them out?
Well, I think the American people know unemployment was at an all-time low before the artificial shutdown. Black unemployment, female unemployment, and now look what the president has done to bring our economy back. Look at PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program. You know, $510 billion in forgivable loans to keep our workers working and to start our economy. Listen, we saw what Donald Trump did in the last 3.5 years for our economy, and I believe, and I think Americans know, he is the only one who can do this again. And, you know, we believe in the American people, and we are just so proud to live in our country despite all the horror that's happened recently. But we need to move on together as a country.
Well, Pam, thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Pam.
Thank you.
And we'll have more Rising for you after this.